You look out your window on a crisp spring morning. The frost is still clinging to the glass. Out there, in the tangled branches of the hawthorn bush, a vibrant crimson male, Northern Cardinal, leans forward. He gently places a single black oil sunflower seed into the open beak of his olive-brown mate. To the human eye, it is the ultimate symbol of monogamy. A tender kiss. A display of affection and lifelong devotion playing out right in your backyard. We are naturally wired to project our own humanity onto the wild, to categorize their survival mechanics into our own definitions of love and romance. But beneath this canopy, nature does not operate on romance. Nature operates on calories. It operates on instinct, brutal calculations, and fatal trade-offs. That kiss you are witnessing? It is a visual illusion, and the truth behind it is far more ruthless than you could ever imagine. To understand the deception, you have to look closely at the female. When she demands food, she doesn't just sit and wait passively. Watch her posture. She lowers her center of gravity. She rapidly quivers her wings. She opens her beak wide and emits a high-pitched, repetitive begging call. If that behavior looks familiar, it should. She is flawlessly mimicking the exact physical and vocal cues of a starving, helpless fledgling. Why would a fully mature, capable, apex forager demean herself by pretending to be an infant? According to behavioral ecologists at the Cornell Lab of Ornithology, this is not a display of submission. It is a highly calculated evolutionary test, a brutal direct paternity exam. By mimicking a starving chick, the female places intense psychological and instinctual pressure on the male's nervous system. She is essentially laying down an ultimatum. If you cannot find the patience, the focus, and the resources to feed me right now, you will never have the capacity to keep a nest full of our screaming young alive. She is not asking for affection. She is auditing his competence as a provider. To truly grasp the severity of this test, we have to examine the staggering biological toll of avian reproduction. In the wild, equality is a myth. The female bears the crushing, disproportionate burden of the breeding cycle. She alone scouts the location. She alone weaves the twigs, the bark, and the pine needles into a fortress against the elements. And soon she will endure the grueling, solitary marathon of incubation. But nothing, absolutely nothing, drains her life force quite like the physiological act of egg production. Research published in the Journal of Avian Biology reveals the staggering mathematics of this process. To synthesize the calcium-rich shells and the dense lipid-heavy yolks, a female bird's resting metabolic rate can spike by over 40%. She is quite literally cannibalizing her own internal calcium reserves. She is draining her own bodily tissues to construct new life. Every hour she spends foraging for herself is an hour she burns precious energy, exposing herself to predators like the Cooper's hawk. She cannot afford to waste a single calorie. She is walking a razor-thin line between reproduction and starvation. This brings us back to the kiss. For decades, casual observers and amateur naturalists labeled this behavior courtship feeding, assuming it was a psychological mechanism to strengthen the pair bond. modern science tells a different story. Decades of peer-reviewed data from institutions like the Max Planck Institute for Animal Behavior and the National Audubon Society have stripped away the anthropomorphism. Their findings are absolute. The avian nervous system does not prioritize romance. It prioritizes survival. The primary function of this interaction is pure, unadulterated nutritional subsidization. The mass of the seed, the fat content of the insect. These are not gifts. They are caloric currency. When the male transfers that food into her beak, he is directly injecting fuel into her depleted system. He is acting as a remote biological supply line, allowing her to remain hidden, conserve her thermal energy, and finalize the development of her ovaries. The success of the next generation hinges entirely on this transaction. If he fails to provide, she will abandon the nesting attempt to save her own life. When we strip away the human lens, when we remove the comforting romantic narratives we force upon the natural world, the picture doesn't become bleak or boring. It becomes infinitely more profound. What you are left with is the breathtaking beauty of evolutionary calculus. You see the female's brilliant strategy to filter out the weak. You see the male risking his own life, spending his own energy to purchase genetic immortality. It is not love. It is a cold, calculated, and flawless partnership forged in the crucible of survival. The next time you look out your window and you see those two birds locking beaks in the morning light, remember what you are actually witnessing. It is not a kiss. It is a fatal contract, signed in the final currency of the wild. Nature is speaking. We are just here to help you listen.